The only thing we have to fear is fear itself.
Justice requires us to remember when any citizen denies his fellow, saying his color is not mine, or his beliefs are strange and different. In that moment, he betrays America.
Be nice and patient and continue to pray. In 100 or 200 years, the problem will work itself out.
I believe that truth is the glue that holds government together. Not only our government, but civilization itself.
In this present crisis, government is not the solution to our problem. Government is the problem.
This nation was founded by men of many nations and backgrounds. It was founded on the principle that all men are created equal, and that the rights of every man are diminished, and the rights of one man are threatened.
America is never wholly herself unless she is engaged in high moral principle. We as a people have such a purpose today. It is to make kinder the face of the nation and gentler the face of the world.
There is nothing wrong with America that cannot be cured by what is right with America.
Through much of the last century, America's faith in freedom and democracy was a rock in a raging sea.
Starting today, we must pick ourselves up, dust ourselves off, and begin again the work of remaking America.
I love that intro, by the way. It's very, very impactful.
It is.
I have to say, I'm all fired up. We have to do more on gun control. Like, this once I get Georgia off my mind, which I don't know if that's gonna happen. Georgia. Yep. Let me tell you. But you know what? We went from no one, absolutely no one in the chat to like boom, like thank you people.
Oh, they come when they're called. That's good.
Yes. It's like, did you do that high pitched whistle thing that you do? Like, wow, that was cool. Because literally, Quiz and I had just said, well, let's go out there and just talk to ourselves. We're ready. We're going to do it. And boom, like, there you all are. Thank you. But yeah,
like we're getting a full house.
Yeah. Hey, Godless, how you doing? Hey, Faulty, long time. Nice to see you. Robski, Tony. Nice to see everybody. Always. Jujubee. It's cool. Yeah.
Charlie. Oh,
I
got Charlie. Don't worry.
I was letting you say, you know what? I know how you are. So I was letting you say hi to Charlie first because, like, apparently, okay. That's okay. But hey, Boo Face, how you doing? Yeah. Well, yeah. That's cool. But this is gonna be interesting.
Oh, you missed one.
Who did I miss? Wait a minute.
This Clearview person. Who's that?
Oh, yeah, don't bother with her. She's just a cranky old bear. It's only on her first.
Wait. She's what? She's a what?
She's hot AF.
Wait, you said a cranky what?
Nope. Yeah. Okay. Just forget about that other word. Hello, Liam. Just like,
hey, Liam.
I will admit to being older than Quiz, but it doesn't make me ancient. Yeah, I am a nerd. I'm definitely a nerd. Don't you say it? Did you say inert? Like
no,
what?
I said older than dirt.
Oh crap! Like you didn't. Wrong show, boo. Can you guys believe what I got to put up with up here? Like, come on. Well, let's just say I'm old enough to know better, and I'm old enough to know a little bit about what we're going to talk about. And I know
goodness, let's get a civics lessons going on.
We're going to need a civics lesson because this one's a little more complicated, and I cannot believe the amount of misinformation out there already. Like it's unbelievable.
I'm just going to say this, and I need to say this from the beginning. It is unprecedented that we would indict a former president of the United States. Unprecedented.
That's because it's unprecedented that we have somebody who gives not an AF, not a single iota about respect for the law. Like, sorry, not sorry,
I
but
just thought that, when you were president, you got complete immunity from anything you did in the future. You just got
I'm
to commit murder
sure.
and nobody could charge you.
I will bet you that that's the advice he got when he was looking 8 years ago at running, because he knew all this was coming from New York and he was trying to keep his ass out of jail, which is more than likely the only reason he wanted to be president, because he wasn't to serve the people, because he didn't do a goddamn thing for any of us. He only served himself.
No,
So,
come on, let's give him a little respect here.
do we have to?
He did lower taxes on the most wealthiest people in the nation.
Oh, yes. Well, unfortunately, I'm not one of them. I don't have to give a fuck. Okay. So, all right. So, like I said, he didn't help me. He didn't help you. He didn't help anybody in that chat, unless there's some hidden millionaires there that I don't know about. And that's fine if you are. I'm not against you. Like, that's great for you. I'm just saying he
So,
didn't do anything for us.
hey, before we begin and get into the meat of this thing,
Hmm.
can you tell me exactly how an indictment actually happens?
Oh, I was hoping you did the civics lessons, but I
Well, you want
can't
me to do the
say.
civic lessons? Fine,
Well,
I'll do the civic
I
lessons.
can say one sentence, okay?
Here we
It's
go.
it's not a single judge. It's not a sitting president. It's not even the Department of Justice, one man or anybody like that. It's not a single lawyer. It's not anybody with a complaint. It's not a single person that actually puts an indictment out.
Are you
Mm,
done? Because that was a hell of a
mhm.
sentence.
Yeah. Well, I do believe in commas. Yeah, in pauses.
Comma,
Yeah.
comma, comma. How many commas? How many
Comma,
commas
comma,
does this
comma,
thing get
chameleon.
anyway?
Yeah, me and Boy George. Okay, go ahead. You can go ahead. All
An
right.
indictment is
Mhm.
brought against a defendant, not by the prosecutor, not by a judge, but instead by his peers.
Mhm.
When
Mhm.
prosecutors convene a grand jury, they gather people together and they present the case to them first and say, here's what we have. Here's the evidence that we're presenting. Here's what we think they did wrong, and blah, blah, blah. And then those people, those peers, get to vote and
Ex
say, you've got a case, you don't have a case, go ahead and charge them, don't charge them.
Mhm.
And in this instance, and in the last 3 instances, when a grand jury, well, in 2 instances, because the other one wasn't. But anyway, yeah, no, they all were, weren't they? Yes,
Wow.
they all did grand juries. Okay. So at least in this instance, and I know in the DC and in New York, at least 3 of those, um, a jury of their peers was convened to sit on a panel to hear the evidence, and they gave the green light to
To vote.
charge the former president for crimes. And
Exactly.
it's not misdemeanors that he's being charged with, folks. These are felonies.
These are felonies under the
If
RICO Act.
if
Yeah.
you or I were charged with felonies, we wouldn't walk out of the courtroom that day.
Well, we
We
wouldn't be
would have been
given until,
told,
like, August 25th to turn ourselves in and come
yeah,
up with a
I
reason
mean,
why we're
we would have
coming.
been told that, you're gonna
Yeah.
have to wait here, and a judge is gonna have to say, this is what your bail's gonna be, and then there's gonna be a bunch of additional things that we assign to you while you're on bail. But that doesn't happen, apparently, if you're a
Mhm.
former president of the United States.
Mhm.
If you're charged with a crime, apparently you can just go out and jet set all that you want,
Mhm.
and your passport's not taken away, your money is not taken away.
Exactly.
But hey, I
Mhm.
mean, but I guess that's what all those Republicans keep saying about this two-tier system. So maybe we should just put a former president in jail right now and let him sit on his ass
Mhm.
until he can post a bail, and then take away his passport so he can't travel. Uh,
Exactly.
Put him under house arrest like they do a lot of others.
Mhm.
Not
And
not allow him to drink or take
oh, but that would be
drugs.
he would scream like a stuck pig, because he already is, okay, about that violating his right to run for president. That we're only doing it because we're afraid of him running again. Well, he did run and he lost. Okay, what we are afraid of is that if he loses again, he might like nuke the country or something. Like, I don't know. Like, I think there's a good reason to be afraid of this man twisting things out. Not that I think that everyone is organized against him to get him out, because actually, what kind of delusional, visions of grandiose do you have to think that half the country is organized against you to keep you out? Like,
Well,
everybody, the Department of
actually, let's
Justice,
be
from the
honest. It's
top to the
more than
bottom,
half
like
because we voted him out.
we did. We actually did. But actually, that oh no, but apparently in his view, we didn't, because that's his
Oh,
defense.
that's
I
right.
believed I won.
It was those 10 million fake votes that somebody put into the system.
What, 10 million of them, 10 million of them. Like, that's not small potatoes, people. Okay. More people voted in that election than in a long, long time. So it was a major effort. Okay. And they had let me remind everyone, three separate independent investigations into the election to make sure that there wasn't fraud to actually turn the events. And
And of
even
course,
his
she means in
own,
Georgia.
everywhere. Georgia had their own. Okay. Everyone did. All the states were actually
Not
asked to check
all.
things. Well, most of them. Well, the ones that were
Only 6 states
okay,
actually
but
audited themselves because those 6 states went to Biden.
right. And they
I
did
don't know
audit
how those
themselves
Trump states didn't audit themselves and waste
because
their
they
money.
didn't want to find out that Biden won those states too. Like, like, let's be clear here. Like, they're actually pushing, and they got exactly what they wanted. They got everyone to review the record, and it stood. That's the problem. They squealed, they complained, they said it wasn't fair, they got it looked at, and there wasn't anything there. So then, you know what they did? They said, that's okay. We still want to go forward with it. And that is why there's RICO charges, because they committed a conspiracy
Oh,
to
what's
actually
a
put fraud
RICO? How do
against
you
the
get to
American
RICO?
people.
Explain to us what RICO is designed to do and why it was necessary.
Well, you act like a wannabe mobster, and you start telling people what to do and go and violate laws, and you know about it, but you don't get your hands dirty, but you have a whole organization that kind of does it for you, and you all communicate together about what's going to be done and how it's going to be done. And then you actually acknowledge the fact that what you're doing is illegal and you shouldn't really tell anybody about it. And then you leave a paper trail in DMs, in emails, and also in audio phone calls, and then you end up with RICO charges against you.
Okay.
Like,
Now let's
does that
let's
help?
define what a RICO charge is, not how
Oh,
you get
eh,
there. I
okay,
think you jumped
okay.
the gun a little there, but we'll get back to it.
Wait, hold on. Okay, so
And
the
and and when did
okay.
RICO charges come into
Well,
effect
first of
and
all,
why?
I loved Godless Scummer's comment, because yes, the irony is delicious, Godless Scummer. It's literally delicious that the man who made RICO charges like the biggest thing out here and helped define the laws on the Eastern Seaboard was Rudy Giuliani. And now he's actually being indicted under it. But RICO means Racketeer Influenced and Corrupt Organizations Act. Okay. And
Wow,
that
when
is
did
an
this come
act.
into effect?
Well, it's a federal law that
Hmm.
states can add to. In actually, Georgia made theirs really, really tough and really, really kind of easy, because actually in Georgia they use it um a little bit differently. They've actually, the last prosecution that they did was about something with the education and students, and about admissions and shit like that, about an
Mhm.
organized plot to
Mhm.
actually do something against the law. Okay. And they all knew about it. And in Georgia, you only need two offenses to qualify. You don't need like a long history, like with like a mob case, like 10 years of crime and corruption and murder and death. You don't need anything like that. You just need two events in Georgia, and you'd only need a handful of people. In I think that's important to recognize because this indictment has 143 events listed, and it has 19 indicted people and 30, 1 through 30 co-conspirators that are currently giving testimony but not indicted.
And for those who care about the RICO charge, it began in 1970.
Mm-hmm.
It was okay. Its main purpose was to be able to get to the mob.
Mm-hmm. And it extends
Um,
larger
because the
criminal
mob
charges. Yeah.
had the ability to get off charges because of witnesses disappearing,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
things like that.
Intimidation,
Yeah.
hard to testify when you did, or like,
So
missing.
RICO came
Yeah.
into effect so you could get to the mob, you could get those mob bosses under control, and it worked. I mean, in most of the country, mob bosses
Mm-hmm.
aren't that big of a deal. Not
Right.
saying that they're not still around,
Right.
but they don't have the reach that they used to have.
True. And it's
And that's all in part
Mhm.
to prosecutors who use the RICO charges to put most of the mob bosses under and their cohorts and all of that. So,
They made it like a little they made it harder for them to keep their hands clean because here's the thing. To be charged under RICO as a co-conspirator, you don't necessarily have to have your hands dirty. You didn't have to do the deed. You needed to know about
mhm,
it, okay? And you needed to do nothing about it to prevent it. Okay?
right.
So that's all they got to prove for you to be a co-conspirator. And in Georgia, it's pretty easy. And mostly RICO is used now for fraud, corruption, and conspiracy.
Yep.
It was used for murder and all that other stuff with the mafia, and like, bulking the system, money laundering, all of that other. That's not what they're talking about here. But they are talking about fraud, corruption, and conspiracy. Absolutely. And one of the things they're bantering around, quiz, that really kind of gets my goat is this well, it's his right to go against the election if he feels something was wrong. Yeah, it's true. He can voice his opinion that he's not happy about the election. He has every right to say that. He has every right to say, I don't agree. I think I won. He can be as delusional AF as he wants.
Yep.
Okay. And he can speak on it. Okay. He can even stomp and throw a fit and do whatever he wants. But what he cannot do is commit illegal acts to try to turn it. It wasn't what he said. That's not the problem. We don't care. We're used to him being a pain in the ass and saying whatever the hell he wants and causing all kinds of trouble with his words and rhetoric. We're used to that. But what you can't do in this country is actually do criminal acts to support it, to try to get your way. You can't just overturn something because you don't like what happened. You can't go and make fake electors to replace the ones that know the truth because you
Why
still want to
not?
sell an idea. Because that's where the illegality comes in. Like, that's the biggest part. And you know what's really funny is that, well, it's not funny. It's actually, I'm scratching my head about it, is they actually put it in writing. They wrote the plan out how to do the fake electors. Okay. They wrote fake letters. They committed fraud. They committed fraud by making dummy documents to try to convince people that these were the real electors.
It's
And
true.
and they're all 19 of them got a big problem. A big
Oh,
problem.
yeah. I mean, all the people mentioned in the indictment have big problems. There are 19
Mhm.
known or charged conspirators or co-conspirators.
Mhm.
There are 30 not charged co-conspirators. In other words, these are people who gave evidence against them.
That already said, "Oh shit, let me tell you what happened. Go light on me, please." Basically, that's exactly what happened. They went, "Oh shit, that's what you got? Oh, that's bad. Oh, well, what do I got to do? Tell you the whole story? Okay, let me start at the beginning." Boom.
Yeah, here's where I
Yeah,
came in.
yeah.
Here's what
Here's
I
where I
knew.
came.
Here's what
Yeah,
was
here's
said
what
to
I
me.
know. Yeah,
Sure,
yeah.
have it all. Take
Mhm.
all the evidence you want.
Like,
We'll be
one
happy.
access to my emails, one access to my phone messages. You want it all? Here, you can have it. Just please don't send me to Guantanamo. Like, don't do it. Like, just don't. Okay, because this is serious. I want to take one moment to just say congratulations to Mousy, who had a minion baby. You named one of the babies after like a minion? Like, yeah? You gave them like did you name him after a serial killer or a murderer or what? I need to know, Mousy. Like, that's kind of cool. Congratulations. She raises fish. It's kind of cute. It's really cute, actually.
Yeah.
It's very relaxing to watch her lives with the fish in the background. Yeah. Well, okay, so the Turtle Moves has a theory here that I kind of agree with. That the reason that he's out walking around still is that he can continue to rant on the socials and dig himself a bigger pit.
Well, and
Probably.
here's the problem with that too. In his indictment before this,
Mhm.
in indictment number 3 by Tanya Wachawaki. I'm
Mhm.
sorry, ma'am, I just butchered your name, and I really apologize for that.
Yeah,
But she basically told him to shut your fucking mouth.
basically she did.
Don't
Yeah.
talk about anything. Don't talk about anyone.
He won't listen.
Just keep your mouth shut. And that night, he went out and gave a speech and talked like he wanted to.
Listen, he's actually saying that he knows who the jury foreman is for the grand jury and that they committed fraud. How does he know that?
Well, he doesn't, except
He doesn't.
if you notice,
Well,
the list or the indictment does share who was on the grand jury.
they do. But he's actually out there actually intimidating witnesses already. That Google link that I just dropped down there, that is the actual public release or the portion of the report by the grand jury that is allowed to be out. Okay, period. Okay.
Yeah.
For some of the grand juries, just so you can understand how they word it, what they do.
98
Yeah.
pages worth.
Well,
If
that's
you
the
haven't,
indictment.
yeah, if you haven't read the indictment, you really need to.
I'm going
I
to
think it'll
drop
clear up
it.
a lot of problems for
I'm
people.
going to drop this one for you guys because I'm going to be very kind. The New York Times dropped the link that's annotated with comments onto what might be the legal importance of certain parts of it. Okay. Which is just delish. And I will actually drop you a shareable link. Let me just make sure it's shareable before I drop it. For the whole 98-page indictment in its glory without the annotations. So you could just pick which ones you want to read. But I recommend that every American read it, just like the last ones.
Yeah. You should
That
always read
Jack
these
Smith
indictments.
put out. I think you should because there's a lot of rhetoric out there already. Okay. I would also like to mention, and this is a fact, I checked it. I thought it was quite humorous when I first heard it because I was like, I can't believe that nobody's picking up on this. Okay. Out there, you hear a lot that this is a witch hunt, that this is just the Democrats or Joe Biden's White House coming after Trump because he doesn't want to run against him. May I just tell you that every witness in this indictment is a Republican. Everyone speaking out about this being wrong in this indictment and going forward and giving evidence against what happened here is a Republican. Let's sit on that for a moment. Okay? Let's just sit on that for a moment. Joe Biden didn't testify.
Nope.
No Democratic congressman or senator is in that indictment saying anything about any of them. Okay? Yes, Fannie Willis was appointed. She's Democratic. Yeah, this state, some of the electors there are Democratic, from the Democratic
But
Party.
let's before. I mean, you got to also remember that Brad Raffensperger is a Republican.
Mhm. Yep.
Kemp was a Republican.
The people, Mike Pence,
the governor of Georgia.
Mike Pence was vice president and said, hell no, we can't do it like this. Okay? A Republican vice president chosen by the party to run a respected, you could say whatever you want about Mike Pence, right? But he was VP for a reason. He was respected. He was respected for his view on the Constitution and law. Okay. And he said, hell no.
Yep.
Okay. All Republicans Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Faulty says, yeah, but they're just double agents they're double agent Democrats. Like they don't count. They don't count, right, Faulty? Because that'll be the next thing that they say, right? That will be it. So I just recommend everybody. I don't want to put one side against the other. I just want, as Americans, for us all to read it and figure out how to understand how important it is that no one is above the law. No one. Okay. And all of this talk about a witch hunt and it being like it is political because involves politicians and an election, a political election, the highest election we have for the presidency. So of course it's political, but it's not political the way they're saying it is. Okay. Um, I mean, you guys know how hard it is to like organize a book club. How the hell are you going to organize like most of like all the government offices and officials against one man? Like, come on, like it's just no, it's not going to happen. And if it did, there'd be just as much evidence as in this indictment, and it would be indictable. And then somebody from the Republican side could like actually be doing the same thing as this indictment, but they can't because it didn't happen. But this did. This did. This did halfway in public, didn't it, Quiz? A lot of what they're saying, we saw.
Most of this happened in public
Right.
in
We
one way
saw
or
it
the other.
all. Mhm.
I mean, we saw it from November 4th when he shamelessly declares victory, even though everybody on his team tells him not to, that now is not the right time.
Mhm.
November 7th, when he was declared the loser, he immediately began there is massive fraud and I can prove it, and then set out his minions to try and do just that. And yet, and at the time, this is why I really don't understand the people who still follow him, is when those minions went out to all the different court
Mhm.
cases and the state audits and the state investigations, and they gave testimony of, well, I've got 100,000 affidavits right here and I'm willing to show y'all, but yeah, I can't do it right now because we're in open.
You
And
mean
yet at the end of it, nothing was ever produced.
mhm.
60 of the 61 court cases failed on merit. The 61st one was granted only out of a technicality, and even then it was so trivially small that
Mhm.
it doesn't matter. We
But
all saw these things happen
we did. We
in
saw them
public,
commit fraud to the courts and give false
and
testimony and
yes,
evidence. 3 lawyers, people. Giuliani,
and let's
Eastman,
not forget,
Powell gave
probably
false testimony.
one
Okay.
of the most important things about all of this is Bill Barr's resignation.
Oh yeah. And if Bill Barr
Because on
couldn't take it.
December 3rd, he flat out tells the former president, you're wrong.
Yep.
You lost. There is no massive widespread voter fraud. You're just wrong. We've investigated it already.
3
There is
times.
nothing there. You're wrong.
Mhm.
And who was immediately called for his resignation, and he tendered it because he wasn't going to be involved with this.
Exactly.
As
And
much as I don't like Bill Barr and
yeah, look what he did.
his
Look at who he stayed
ideology on
in.
a lot of
Mhm.
things, at least when it comes down to, do I cross a line and get rid of democracy? He's like, no, I'm backing up now.
No.
You know?
Thankfully, some of them actually saw the future if this was allowed to go forward and saw what that would do to the country. Okay.
Yep.
And saw what it would do to the letter of the law, our constitution, just our ability to actually manage any of that. And weren't willing to make it a laughing joke. Okay. Make everything just toss it aside because we want something to be a different way.
Yeah.
Okay. The strength of a country, the strength of anyone actually in your fortitude is right there on whether or not you can go and have to just swallow the bitter pill when you know it's for the greater good. Swallow you don't like the way something's going, you don't agree with
Mhm.
something politically, but you understand the letter of the law and why it's there.
Yeah.
Okay. And well, all I could say is there's quite a few Republicans in that indictment that their fortitude, or rather their integrity, was quite lacking.
Yeah.
Because many of them admitted that knowing it was against the law and did it anyway. And for a lawyer, especially, to do that, what the actual, I just want to remind everybody that Eastman right now is going through whether or not he'll be a lawyer anymore. And um, of course, he's innocent until proven guilty in a court of law in regards to this indictment. But the public complaints about him and what he did, they're all there, with the bar already. And I think they have enough to strip him totally.
I think
Mhm.
Giuliani's already been stripped.
Mm-hmm.
What was that other guy's name? Wood.
Wood, yeah. There's quite a
I
few.
forget him.
Mhm.
He got stripped early. The golly, I can't remember her name.
Ali Haba.
No, no.
No.
The other one.
Hobbs.
No, the one earlier.
Carr. I don't know. I can't remember.
The one real early, who was involved in the White House meetings and kept
Sidney
saying,
Powell.
Sidney Powell.
Number 4 on the
stripped.
list. Yes, she's been stripped. Yep, Sidney Powell. Like, I even forget she's a lawyer. She just always acted like a political mouthpiece.
What I don't understand is you had Sidney Powell, you had Rudy Giuliani, and I forget the other guy,
Eastman, John Eastman,
who sat in
Mark
the
Meadows.
Oval Office
Mark Meadows.
while the call on January 2nd to Brad Raffensperger was going on.
Mm-hmm. And nobody said a word.
And the president says, Brad, I need 11,780 votes. And not one of those people who knew better said, hold on, we'll call you right back, and hung up the phone, because that's what he should have. Every attorney should have reached for that phone and just disconnected it and just said, you can't say that, Mr. President. That's against the law, sir. Mm-hmm. And you're on a recorded line, and well, now we're all fucked, so we might as well just end it here. I mean, no, they let him talk for an hour and what was it, 37 minutes, somewhere in there. And the whole time continue to say, well, there's this massive voter fraud that's taken place in your state. And, you had 5,000 tech people and 13,000 people voting out of state and 100,000 people doing this. And, the ballot boxes were stuffed and yada, yada, yada. And not one of those attorneys.
Nope.
Just
even after
good Lord.
After 3 investigations, they still continued with a lie, and they have admitted it in other courts. Rudy Giuliani just admitted that Ruby Friedman, the person, the actual Georgia, the Georgia, what is it, an electoral?
She worked on the.
She worked in the campaign. She worked for in voter registration and stuff.
Yeah.
That she was actually intimidated, and they've actually got that documented in the indictment too.
That is part of the document or the indictment.
Where people actually went and were harassing her, trying to get her to give false statement that she did something she didn't do. Rudy Giuliani took a video to a court and said it was a USB drive when it was clearly a mint. Okay. And the court saw it was a mint, and they looked at him like, are you out of your mind? Okay. And he had to admit, and now he's guilty of giving false testimony. A lawyer. Wait, let that sink in. A lawyer. He'd been a lawyer a long time. He actually went to court and falsified information, documents, and gave false testimony to a court of law.
And most mob lawyers were never charged with a crime.
Well, because they knew the law. They knew where to draw the line.
Yeah.
They knew how to do it.
As soon as they started talking about things that the lawyer shouldn't hear about, the lawyer said, I have to go. I cannot be a part of this. I haven't heard anything, and walks out. He may know that they're planning something illegal. But as long as he can say, I didn't know what they were planning, I wasn't involved, it's okay.
Well, here's the thing. When you don't have any respect for the law anymore, which is obviously what's going on here, then you don't deserve to be a lawyer. And you shouldn't be in politics if you don't have any respect for the law. The law is what actually keeps our country together. You don't have any respect for it, the rules and regulations we put in place. If you're going to be like one of those people that just wants to throw bombs at everything to blow it up because you have no respect for it, how the hell are we voting those people in? I do believe in changing a system. I do believe that there are things that need to be worked on. Absolutely. It's not perfect. But if you're going to disregard the Constitution and our letter of law just to get your own way, you have no right to represent the people. You're not in it for the people. You are not in
And
it for the people. Yeah,
Tony, to answer your question, there are a number of people in this indictment who are being charged with perjury
absolutely.
because they
Absolutely.
all took oaths when they sat down
Mhm.
in front of these panels at the state level and swore to tell the truth. And we can now, with confidence, come back and say they knew they were lying when they testified.
Absolutely. And here's the thing, Tony. That's the beauty of RICO. They don't have to be the one that lied. They knew about it and they let it go through, and they're still guilty of it. Every single person of the 19 that are named is guilty of every charge that every single one did. Okay? They didn't have to get their hands dirty to be guilty of it. In a conspiracy like this, it's just everybody knew everything. It doesn't matter who went to Ruby Friedman and intimidated her. They're all guilty of it. It doesn't
right.
matter who wrote the fake letters or hired the electors or this or that. They all knew about it. And what they did in the indictment was prove a chain of knowledge and correspondence among each other, that they knew what was going on. And now every single one of them can be charged with every single charge. That is what RICO does. That is like the nutshell of RICO, right?
Yep.
Quiz. That is why.
Exactly why RICO is there.
Yeah, that is why they're freaking out over this
It-
particular district
Yeah.
attorney that actually used RICO the best and most appropriate way to prove what actually happened here. Because when you think about it, that's the clear picture, is it not? There is not just one single offense that should be
No, there
charged
are.
here or there. It was a conspiracy of a multiple of offenses, all to prove one point under the
Yeah.
guise of what one person wanted. So you
And
just
I think if you read the indictment, you're going to look at, and I read the indictment last night,
Mhm.
and I was like, this one will probably be dropped. I mean, the whole thing where he says, on November 4th, he said that he won the election. Well, that's close enough to
He could say that.
what happened that they'll probably drop that. The judge will probably go, nah, this one we can release, and that's okay. But there's some big ones in there.
Mhm.
That really haven't got a lot of press.
See, going
Like
against
when,
anyone who works in an election to intimidate them
yeah,
is a federal offense, okay?
and
And it's
and
a state offense.
and the people who, and there were 2 or 3 lawyers, a couple muscle guys that literally invaded one of the Georgia offices,
Mhm.
election offices, and they didn't have keys to the machines, so they broke into the machines and
Oh, you
stole the data off of them.
Oh, you mean the company that that Sidney
No,
Powell
no,
hired? Oh, no, that's different.
no.
That's
Sidney
separate.
Powell was there. Rudy Giuliani was there. A guy with the NAS was there, a former NAS. That former police chief from New York was there. And they literally went into the office, and I'm not saying that they didn't have the help of somebody, because they did. They had the help of whoever ran the election board in that county. But she knew it
Mhm.
was illegal to do that.
Mhm. She
She knew that
definitely did.
you're not allowed to let anybody have access to those machines. And these people took the data out of the machines and then handed them over to the ninjas.
Yep.
And that in itself is a crime
Yep. And she
that they're all
yep.
going to be guilty of.
Yep. Exactly. And that was like pretty bad. And she's a lawyer and she went ahead and did that, knowing what the election laws are in the
Yeah.
protections. Mark
I mean,
Caesar
I
has a question.
believe that lady is the only one who has yet to be found. She
Mhm.
went into hiding, and they
Yeah.
can't find her now. So
Yeah. M- Mark says, my question is, if he is found not guilty in this indictment, will it make his supporters more resolute in their support? I could tell you this, just the fact that we indicted him has made many of his supporters more resolute in their support.
Yeah, I was going to say, I
Okay,
don't think it'll
just
matter
the
to his
fact
supporters.
his supporters do not care what he did. Remember, this man said that he could grab anything he wanted and violate it in public, stood behind it, and still got voted in. Okay, he ran businesses to the ground on the Eastern Seaboard. He's got more bankruptcies than any other person in the country. I do believe this. He had so many things against him, and they didn't care. They don't care. They're not looking for the information. They like the rhetoric. They like just believing that he's an outsider going to make a difference, and he's one of them. And I ask you all, look at Donald Trump and try to tell me he's one of us. Like, go ahead. Try to find the commonality there. Just any of it. Okay? Just any of it. But he's not. It is all PR, propaganda. He's a great spinner. He's a grifter. A grifter like I've never seen before.
He is, let's be honest, he's not even a grifter. He's a confidence man. I'm sorry. I will call him a confidence man. He lies. True. He tells any story he can. He'll make up a story just to get your money. And then when you go back and say, well, what about this and this? He will lie to your face about, I'm working on it. Or, hey, such and such senator is holding this up. You need to go talk to them. And then we'll snowball you forever. So you could never talk to him again. So this man is a confidence man. That's how he's always run his businesses. Just ask the hundreds, if not thousands of people who are still trying to collect money from him.
Well, there's a reason the DA filed a civil lawsuit against Trump, his whole family, and all his organizations for $250 million for operating bad business practices and not paying taxes. And they did it civilly because the laws are looser that way, and it's going to be easier to prove since they have a criminal case against the organization that the actual accountant came through and pled guilty and went to jail for. He took the hit for it. But it's on record that that's how they did shit. So they're going
and again,
one way or another.
To be able to prove is that Trump had knowledge of how this was done.
Well, he's the CEO. He does it. The only one who got released from it was Ivanka, and that is because only for statute of limitations, because the stuff that they had her on it was outdated.
Yeah,
it missed the mark by a few months, a few years here and there, because they got years worth of it. And this is not. You have to wonder, why would all of these people that do business with him and everything like that be like so turned against a man like that? I wonder, is it because he's so successful and wonderful that people want to spend their life documenting his atrocities? Seriously. Like, I really don't think so. I don't think it's because he's so wonderful. I don't. Juju says she thinks he's lost more support than he realizes. I do too, especially publicly. I do believe that some of the bigger, more common sense heavy hitters that want a political career are starting to read the room. That's what they need to know. Okay, so Turtle wants to know do you think they will charge him with contempt of court for his ranting without permission? And we are talking about the other indictments here.
That's where the judge, the third indictment now.
The third indictment, because that judge came out and said, you better shut up. You better stop right now. Yeah.
Will she charge him with contempt?
We don't know. I
think she will.
Yeah. I think the way he's pushing on her and he's putting stuff out on her family and oh my God, is he being just like, he's being vile. Let's just say that.
I think she will probably give him one more chance, though.
I think she needs to.
The one thing that he's going to have problems with is when he goes to court and she puts him up in front of her and demands an apology from him, he is going to freeze. He's not going to know what the hell to say.
That's right.
He really won't. I think he'll freeze at that point. She'll probably say, you need to go to have a sidebar with your attorney. You need to do it quick because I'm not playing with you anymore.
That's right.
They'll get it figured out the first time.
Because when he shows up in court, it's a whole different thing. Like out there on Twitter is one thing. When he's in court, he's being respectful. He has been.
But she will reemphasize to him that you cannot talk about the case. You cannot talk about the witnesses. You sure as hell can't talk about the judge. You can't talk about the evidence. It's a gag order. Shut the fuck up.
But he has. He absolutely has.
And
And I'm
after she tells
hoping.
him again for the second time, I think after that, if he fucks up again, she will drag his ass into that court and put him in jail.
Mhm.
But no, I don't believe he'll get it the first time. I believe he'll do it and get it the second time. Now, if it was you or I, we'd be thrown in jail right away.
Yeah, but I think they're being cautious. I think they're actually cautioning. They're erring on the side of caution there, to where they're giving him more rope, because they don't want it to look prejudicial, that they're just pissed off at the shit that he's saying. You know what I mean? Like, it's a fine line the judge has to do. They have to make sure that he can defend himself, so that he can't come forward and said, "You did all that, so I didn't have an adequate defense," like, of to what was going on. So hmm, there's a line there that they're going to have to, and this judge is going to be able to do it. Let's remember that no one contested this judge getting her seat. 95-0 she was voted in. Okay, no one did. They can call her this, that, or the anything all they want, but she had broad support from both parties. She has always conducted herself quite professionally. She's a very respected judge, very respected. He could try to slander it that she's just a Democratic talking head, but it ain't like that. You just look at her record and you'll see. Okay, I hate these. And Godless has a point. Like, someone who knew him well, or said, which, who would you match up this president to, like a famous person? It would be P.T. Barnum, snake oil salesman. Yes, exactly what Quiz was saying. Exactly what Quiz was saying earlier. Yeah, it fits. I fit. You know. Well, I don't know. Putting him in jail, that everybody's just going to squawk about that, wouldn't they, Quiz? They're going to say that that's
Well,
prejudicial, that
again,
that's preventing him from, getting a
there's
good
no
defense.
there is no right to run for president. I'm sorry. There is no guaranteed right. Okay,
This
you
is
can
true.
run for president, but there's no guaranteed right that you get to go out and campaign.
As far as as
Just
far as I
because
know,
you're
you can
running for
still run
president
from
doesn't
jail.
mean we
Yeah,
suspend laws for you.
exactly.
If you're
And
wanting to be stupid and not listen to a justice, when that justice has the power to put you in jail, well, that's your own stupidity. It's no
exactly.
one's fault but your own. Like I said, the first time he'll get in there, he'll hee-haw about the apology. They'll give him a sidebar. He'll come back in. He'll read directly what his lawyer wrote, and that's all he'll say. And then he'll walk out of that courtroom
Mm-hmm.
being admonished one more time and
Tweeting
told, if
as he
this happens
goes.
again,
Mm-hmm.
you'll be back here and in contempt for at least 30 days.
And I'll make you a nickel bet he tweets on the way out. Like,
I'm not gonna
he
say he
can't.
tweets on the way out because he'll still be with his attorney.
Okay, as soon as his attorney's out of
I
shot,
think as soon as he's
yeah,
on the plane
he'll
out of
tweet.
everybody's reach,
He'll tweet.
he'll start up again, and
They're silencing me. They don't
she'll
want you to
have
know the truth.
officers waiting for that plane to land to
Wouldn't
take
that
him
be
back
great?
and throw him in jail for 30 days. And again, this isn't something that it's not okay.
It's not that
I'm going to
simple,
tell you all
but
a
yeah.
story.
Okay.
It's a story of consequences for choices.
Uh-oh.
When I was a
Wait.
youngster, okay.
Okay.
When I was
What?
about 4 years old, it was maybe 2 hours before dinner. And I said, I want a cookie. So I walked up, started to unscrew the cookie jar, and my mother said, no cookies before dinner. And I continued to unscrew the cookie jar, and she just looked at me and said, young man, if you take a cookie, you're going to get a whipping. Now, she says, I don't remember this part, but she says, I looked at her for about a minute. I do remember this next part. I reached in, grabbed 2 cookies, and put the cookie jar back together and said, okay, I took my whipping because I got those cookies. Donald
Yep.
Trump is going to take a whipping. He's still going to talk, but he's going to have to pay for that talk.
He's gonna.
And that
Yeah.
judge will make sure he does.
I do hope
And
he likes
each
his
time it will
cookies
get
in the end.
worse. It goes from
Yeah.
30 to 45 to 60 to 90 to 180. And I think about that time, he's really going to be in trouble.
I do. And it's just going to be, we're just going to have to watch it. It's going to be slow and painful. This isn't going to be over very quick. The one thing I do really feel like a little tug about is what our country is going to be like for the next year and a half while all this goes on.
Oh,
Seriously.
I think it's going to be
Um,
longer than a year and a half,
yeah,
unfortunately.
it's going to be. It's although Chutkin, the third indictment judge, wants a quick trial. Like she read, like yep, they're
Oh
all
yeah.
ready. Yeah, and Fannie Willis says she's ready too. She wants it to happen fast. Like she'd be ready to go in 60 days. Can you imagine if there was a
Well,
trial in
everybody wants a
Georgia?
quick. Everybody wants a quick
Mm, I,
trial, except the
I
people who are going up for trial.
I would like I'm looking at it because I'll tell you everybody's going to televise that. Georgia is an open transparency state for court. Like they but I do think because it would turn into a three-ring circus that judge is going to clamp it down. I do believe so. I think she will for the betterment of keeping it fair to both the defense and the prosecution and to keep it from being such a media circus. I bet you she does clamp it down. But it is an open transparency. They do have they have cameras in the courtroom all the time. So I was actually thinking about that. That's going to be a hot mess. But I don't know. I have a question for you though, Quiz.
Mm-hmm.
Um, do you
Okay.
think? Okay, wait a minute. Wait, I lost it. It was right there. Hold on. All right, I'll get it. Oh, here it is. You know the lawyer that's not a lawyer anymore. That is it, Alina Hava or whatever.
Yeah,
Like
I know
yeah,
which
okay,
one you're talking. Yeah.
yeah, okay, the PR lawyer.
Yeah,
Okay,
the PR.
well, I heard her this morning say this is all moot. We'll be doing a press conference next week because
Yep.
Donald J. Trump has presidential immunity. Apparently, she forgot to get the Supreme Court notice of the last two times he tried that. Okay. Okay. Apparently, she doesn't read the Supreme Court rulings on presidential immunity directly involving Donald J. Trump. But I literally spit my first mouthful of coffee
I'm not
this
going to be
morning.
shocked if
I-
one of them doesn't pull out a pardon paper that he has signed and say he signed it before he left office.
oh, oh my God.
He just forgot to file it.
He just forgot to file it. Exactly. But I just like, do they not pay attention to what goes on in the legal system? Has he not tried to pull this before in a civil case? And they actually said, well, no, the government is your employer, but you weren't doing your duties at that time. I think when you're trying to overturn the government, a government election, you're not exactly performing your duties as president. No, I don't actually
Hmm.
think so. Okay, because the only one that benefited was him. Okay, let's see. Oh, there's more questions. I like this with the questions, people. You're making me very happy with your participation today. I'm glad I got up to do this. Are you, Quiz? I'm glad I did.
Mark Caesar, do you
Yeah.
think Trump actually believes he is innocent? Mm.
Okay. Narcissists can screw things around in their heads to any point of view that suits them. Here's the thing. He can believe whatever he wants. He can say whatever he wants. That's not the illegality, okay? It's what he did about it that makes it a crime. And ignorance of whether that was a crime or not is not a defense. In the United States, ignorance of the law is never a defense. So it doesn't really matter what he believed.
But
Unless
let
this
me answer your
crime
question since
unless
she's
this
going to
crime
dance
was
around it.
yeah, no, but here, unless the crime is like defamation and you have to prove intent, then maybe what he thought might come into play. But no, if you
Here's
break
what
the
I'm going
law,
to say. He is a con man,
mm,
and all con men know what they're doing is wrong to a certain degree. They may
yeah,
feel justified to do it because maybe they feel like they're rich, I'm poor, they should give me money.
mhm,
But it still doesn't matter. It's a fraud. You are perpetrating a fraud, or at least you are trying to perpetrate a fraud.
mhm.
So does he know what he was doing was wrong? He was told by everyone on his staff, you lost the election. Every single person in his
All right.
administration told him,
People
you
quit over
lost
it. People
the
walked away.
election.
Yeah. Okay.
So yes,
Eh,
he knew what he was doing was
mhm.
wrong. And I have a theory. I thought of this last night and I have yet to talk to Claire about it, but here's
That's
my
okay.
theory.
Go ahead.
I don't believe he was trying to not get Joe Biden in office. I don't believe he was trying to remain as president, except in a certain way. I
Mhm.
believe his theory is that if they didn't hold the swearing in on January 20th, that it would have thrown this country and the office into a constitutional crisis, because our Constitution does not say what happens if they don't swear someone in on the 20th of January.
Mhm. It's
It
true.
just doesn't.
Mhm.
So, does the man who is supposed to be president, is he now president, or is the man who was president still president? I think Trump was hoping that they would keep him in office while this constitutional crisis was
Happened,
happening.
which
And
he
then
tried to bring about himself.
and
Yes.
then furthering that, I think he thought that the people on the Supreme Court would have supported that and said, "We'll see, we'll take this up in 6 months when our next session starts."
Mhm.
Now, I think he's wrong on a few things. One, I think the Supreme Court would have stepped in right away and said, "It's okay. You can just swear Joe in anytime." And two is, they would never have stepped in and said, "We're not going to take this up until 6 months down the road, and he gets to stay president." It would not have happened. I think even the Supreme Court wouldn't have gone that far. And as a matter of fact, they've said as much. They're not going to go that far and destroy democracy just because one idiot doesn't want to give up the office of president.
Mhm. Exactly. Just because he doesn't agree. Beck, I'm going to answer this that I have to research that because it is very difficult to take the privileges away once they've been put there, and there is well, he
Oh,
won't
hold on.
actually
No, no,
need
no.
such
If he's
secret service.
arrested, no, he doesn't lose his secret service. He's
He
been
has to be
arrested.
guilty.
He's already been arrested.
He's
That's
been
what those
arrested.
indictments are. You get arrested at the courthouse.
Yeah. And whether or not he's convicted, which I think is more towards the question you're asking, if he gets convicted
Yeah.
of any of these charges, any of the indictments, what happens to the lifelong pay, pension, health insurance, and secret service that these officials get? We'll have to look at that. And if it's true that he would keep it, then we definitely need new legislation and things have to be happening. Because when you actually go against the law of your own country, in everything you're representing as an official in one of in the highest office that we have, there should be consequence, and the lifelong benefits should be ones that go, uh definitely. But we have to look into that. I don't think that he loses it, to tell you the
No,
truth.
he doesn't.
I don't
It's
think he
written in the
does.
code
Mhm.
that they get former presidents and their spouses get lifetime
Forever.
protections.
Right. And
Um,
I don't think they actually foresaw the
the,
fact that somebody would go this far and get convicted of felonies
yeah,
while,
the only thing that would have stopped that is if he would have actually gone on to the impeachment area
Mhm.
in the Senate and have been impeached on, or have been
Mhm.
been removed from office.
Mhm.
That would have then canceled that.
Mhm.
But just for being convicted of a felony, no. He still keeps his Secret Service protection as it's written.
Yeah, true. Commander, yes and no. He's not president. Well, he was at the time this started. Remember, it started right after the election in December, and he clearly was still president because nothing happens until January. He's still acting president, leader of our country for those months. So the bulk of the offenses happened while he was holding office. During that period of time after the election, when we know we're going to get a new president, but he's not sworn in yet. They happened from November, December, and January, most of the offenses, and even prior, actually. So, yes, presidential immunity will be something that will be argued. You can expect to hear about it in the courtroom. Whether or not it holds up is another story, because the Supreme Court has already weighed in on certain things. Okay. Um, we'll have to see what evidence. Remember, the indictment lays out the case. What evidence actually gets into the courtroom is a whole nother story, because the other side gets to push back. They get to file motions in once discovery happens and they know everything that is going to come out. They will then proceed to try to keep most of it out of court, and they will use things like presidential immunity, statute of limitations, privacy laws, the whole gamut. You'll see. But part of this is true and part of it's not. Okay. I do realize that it is a memo about presidential immunity, but it's a steadfast one, and it needs to be argued in the highest courts. Okay. It doesn't even get to just be settled right here. It goes all the way up to the Supreme Court every single time. And the last time, the Supreme Court kicked it back to the state Supreme Court and let them decide. Let's hope they continue to keep doing that, because it should be judged by the state law that's actually prosecuting him, whether it applies or not. But we'll see.
To answer someone else's question there,
Which one?
if
Yeah.
someone is found guilty of treason against the U.S., they shall
Mhm.
suffer death or shall be imprisoned not less than 5 years and fined under the title, but not less than 10,000, and shall be incapable of holding any offices under the United States.
And that's the important one right there. But that has to be treason, insurrection, sedition, right? Mhm.
Well, there's a difference between, unfortunately, there is a difference between sedition and insurrection.
There is, and that's why when I don't see the words, I get a little like, huh, okay, well, you're kind of downplaying that a little bit, but I see. She'll ask, what are the chances that we can yeet them to Russia? I will say, very, very amusingly, he's tweeted about that recently, that now America is a communist state, that Russia's finally here because we indicted him. We're all Russians now. Yeah.
I got a bad feeling that if he was to try and fly to Russia, his plane would be intercepted and told to turn back and land.
I don't think they want him. Yeah, I don't think
It's not that they don't want him, it's that we don't want him to go with the secrets that he has.
True.
He is a man who has known the inner secrets.
Oh, come on,
and
but he could be
they are
trusted with
literally
he could be trusted with national documents that like give out plans on nuclear weapons and stuff. Oh, come on, Quiz. Really? Like,
Yep.
how could we doubt him? I mean, he only stored them in the bathroom and on stage at Mar-a-Lago and transported them all over the place and showed them off to people that don't even have security clearance for it because he was a braggart. Like, no, it's unreasonable to think that he would do that.
Yeah, I'm just saying.
I can't believe I said all that without puking.
I can see that, the military getting involved, telling him to turn his ass around. You are not going to Russia. I mean, I think that's a scary situation to even think of. A former president deciding to join one of the biggest.
They were the first people he had visit the White House, was the delegates for Russia. Come on. He was pretty clear about who helped him. Yeah, this is for you, Chris. I ain't touching this one.
Wow.
It's all you. All you. She said you.
Oh,
You got it.
goodness. I will say this. When Nixon realized he was backed into a corner, there was no way out, he was going to be impeached, he gave up the office. Which protected the office of the president, at least. Trump, on the other hand,
he don't care about
give
the
a shit about the office. All he wanted was the office to protect himself from, being tried or being charged. He wanted to be able to make money, and he just enjoyed the immunity that he got.
True.
And the spotlight. And he wants to stay in that spotlight. I think one of Trump's biggest fears is to become a non-important person, one that nobody gives a shit about anymore. It would be amazing to me if one day we woke up and there wasn't a mention of Trump, that nobody said, oh, here's what he's tweeting today, it would just be, we just don't care anymore, because I think that alone would pretty much put him in his grave. Who
Hmm.
was worse for the office of the presidency? Trump. Who was worse for the country? Still Trump, because there's a bunch of idiot voters out there who believe whatever he says, and they don't even question it.
Yeah,
I don't care if you have a differing belief from me. What I do care is if you haven't even thought why.
exactly.
If you
And
have no reason to have a different belief from anyone, I think you should just say, well, I haven't given it much thought, and leave it at that, instead of going, well, that's because this is how I believe, and I don't care what you say.
let's just say, when he was given all that power, and with the stroke of a pen, he could change legislation to where you didn't have to pay attention to certain laws and regulations. That cramped his style in regards to business and making money. There could be a power thing going on there. It was pretty cool. You just have to look at the dismantling of all of the regulation offices that first happened as soon as he got into office. There was no more ways and means. There was no more contract, reviewing. He tried to make it so that you didn't have to disclose your transactions that happened while you were holding public office. All of these things that we put in as the checks and balances to keep people from having corruption at the highest levels in politics, because there is a lot of influence there. There is a lot of ability to make money behind the scenes, like hand over fist. That all got dismantled immediately. And there wasn't enough complaining about it. There really wasn't. It all got dismantled immediately. If that doesn't smell of agenda and why this man wants to hold office, then I don't know what to tell you. It ain't for the people, I'll tell you that. It's for the 1%. It's for where he thinks he belongs. At the top, just treating us all like just the means to an end, just lining his pocket because he's better than the rest of us. And the people that are actually saying that he's like one of us and he's for the people and he's just like me, you're fools. You're ostriches. You better pick that head up out of the sand and start looking at what's going around. And please come to me and tell me one damn good thing that he did for you. One. That's all I want to hear. It's been 8
Well,
years
I
and I'm still
told you
waiting to
this
hear one.
already. He lowered the taxes for the richest people in the United States.
I said
Come
for
on.
me, Quiz, not his ball golfing buddy or some foreign dignitary. I said me. Me. What did he do for me or you? Like the average
I can
American.
promise you he didn't do shit for me.
That's right. I know, right? He just tried to squash you down, and me too. Like you're talking about two oppressed people up here. We're just not right. Like we got the wrong gender and the wrong affiliation here to do anything for Trump to support us at all. Yes, I get it.
But
Oh
I will
man,
say this again.
Turtle, that's rough, man. She said, if Trump did try to run to Russia, would they shoot him down if he refused to turn around, like anyone else? Like, I don't know. Like, I wouldn't want to say our government does that, but like, doesn't all governments do
Are
things
you
like that? I don't
naive?
know. Yeah, I said, like, I'm not gonna say, like, in this particular case. I'm just gonna say most governments do protect their people by doing shit like that.
Hey,
Yes, they do.
who?
Okay.
Show of hands in chat. Who believes that our government really doesn't partake in state-sponsored assassinations? Just
Yeah.
show of hands.
Yeah, well, like, remember we tried with Castro. Like, come on, like, yeah. How about that whole Hussein thing? Like, come on, like, no, yes, all governments, not just ours, all countries do it to protect
Yes.
their people. Okay, that I will say, and I'll stand behind that, and that's all I'm gonna say. Okay, I'm not going to get into the plots against it because, like, for all I know, the next tweet coming out of Donald Trump's mouth is going to be Clairview just admitted publicly that they're out to kill me. Like, I don't need to see that. I don't need to see that. Like, no, I'm not saying
Yeah,
that. I'm just saying, like,
I'm
yeah,
just saying that
yeah.
our government has a vested interest in keeping certain state secrets
Mhm.
secret,
And as we should. Okay,
and they're
and so
not
should
going to
all
allow
governments.
someone
Yeah.
like President Trump to just fly off to Russia.
Yep. I'm telling you.
Let me ask you. Let's switch that around.
Yeah.
If Barack Obama decided he was going to move to Russia and start talking to Putin every day, do you think would happen?
Are you kidding? He arranged a meeting to try to straighten something out, and they called him a traitor. And yet Trump brought them in, first meeting, into the office and actually praised him, said he loves the way Putin runs his country. That's a man of respect, that he admired him and hopes to run the country that way. I'm like, oh, listen, no, Barack Obama would have been like ousted. Like he would have been, oh my God. Mm,
I'm just saying.
mm.
I mean, it's everybody keeps yelling about this two-party system and how people or how apparently Trump is getting treated differently from everybody else. But I got news for you. If Obama would have tried it, he would not have gotten toward even close. Probably
Nope.
getting on a plane.
Yep, he'd be in jail. He would. Juju,
So,
I don't know if they pulled his passport yet. In regards to this indictment in Georgia, they are saying that because the indictment includes witness tampering, that the bail hearing is going to be a little bit different. Because they've already got evidence that they will tamper with witnesses. They're going to be pretty strict about some of it. I don't know what's going to happen there. She did give them till the 25th to turn themselves in, all 19 of them willingly. And then they're going to have to discuss stuff. I'm sure that there's going to be some kind of gag order issued. At least I hope so, especially the way these people talk. They're already doing their best to be out there. Although Rudy Giuliani's got a big issue because he did just give testimony to admit that all his statements against Ruby Friedman were false. So there's that.
Nothing like making the first or the it's not the first charge in the indictment, but let's see, so I can't. It was pretty short on the up list, but already proven before we even go to trial. It's like, well, the guy who did it is now saying, "Yeah, I did it, and I'm sorry."
Yep.
Well, we only need one more.
But he didn't say he was sorry. He just said, "Yeah, they weren't true. They all of that. You're right." And then he is now like actually documentation that he lied to the court system. In Georgia, he lied to the electoral court system there when they had the rulings. He brought false testimony. I mean, it's going to be a problem. Hey, Record, thanks for that's a funny comment, actually. Good morning, sir. Like, no, don't throw otters at him. Don't waste the good otter on this man. Listen, he says, I want a bunch of otters so I could throw a strawberry at him and watch him get torn up by otters fighting for the strawberries. Ooh, listen, they would tear him up, but like, I don't want to waste a good otter, to tell you the truth, on a Trump. Like, no, no.
Ain't that
Yeah,
the truth?
ain't that the truth? I wouldn't waste a good otter on a Trump. But I did just see some woman's picture is all over the place. She got attacked by an otter in the river, and her face is all messed up. Like they beat her cheek, they beat her all over the place. She's really got some scars. Like one angry otter. It wasn't even a group of them. It was just one really pissed off otter. Like just like took her out. No, so that would be a good visual. Yeah, that would be a good visual if you threw that tomato. I'd like to see his face look like that a little bit. But I shouldn't be so mean. I really don't wish him harm. I do wish him justice. I will say that. But in the way he acts, that's gonna hurt. Justice is gonna hurt like hell, Because he thinks I wouldn't be so upset if he didn't feel he was so above it all. Like it doesn't apply to him. The rules are for everybody else, not him.
Yeah. Exactly.
Oh,
So,
Godless has. Wait. We're gonna have to let the Brit actually tell us who the worst American presidents are, okay? Because this is ironic, actually. Yeah. Godless is the worst. Just his personal list of worst U.S. presidents: Andrew Johnson, James Buchanan, Donald Trump, Woodrow Wilson. Can't decide between Franklin Pierce or Warren G. Harding. Which is the one that died right away? Was that Harding? Didn't he die like quick? I don't know. Franklin Pierce was pretty bad.
I'm thinking Buchanan was probably one of the worst. I mean, for me, if it's not number one, he's number two.
Yeah, I would say he's definitely like number one or number two for me. And that's not a bad list, actually. Woodrow Wilson, I can see why you think he's so horrible. I don't think he's that bad.
Wasn't Buchanan actually gay?
I thought Pierce Harding was. Didn't
Was it
Harding have a
Harding?
lifelong lover? I don't know. I have to look. I
Anyway,
have to. I happen to know that my grandson
I'm
is
not
older
saying that
than
he was a
yeah.
bad president because he was gay, but I'm saying
No,
he's a bad president because while he was in office,
he didn't
he
do anything.
again made
Mhm.
up laws against homosexuals
Exactly.
while
Like he
being
was
one.
like
I'm like,
while
what
he
the?
was. That does kind of make him pretty foul to like do that. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, that's too much, but ah, man, I would like to say that I feel better getting all of like talking about these, but it's gonna be so long. Like this isn't the last time we're gonna be talking about this for sure.
No,
Mhm.
unfortunately, I think our next one will be taking place probably
The 25th?
either on the well,
After
yeah,
the
it might be
25th?
later in the day on the 25th because we have
Yeah.
to wait for what happens, or
Yeah.
it might be on the
Probably after.
26th.
I
Yeah.
would say probably after, like whichever like the Wednesday is after that, because like it's gonna hit the fan, whatever.
Or we could
Like
just watch it live together with
we
everyone.
oh we could. Do you think they're gonna put it live? If they put it live, we should do that. Yeah, we
I think
should.
if they put it live, we'll be here.
Would you guys be interested in that? I don't even think I have to ask. Like I know these people in the chat, they'd be like, yeah, let's just watch him sit there and not say a word. Because that's what happens when he gets to court. He doesn't say a word. That's if he goes, because in the E. Jean Carroll civil
Oh,
suit,
he'll
he
have to
never
go to
went.
this one. No,
He has to
the
go to
E. Jean.
federal.
Okay,
Yeah.
listen, the E. Jean Carroll is civil. Don't have to
Hmm.
worry about that. This
Right,
is a
but
criminal
federal, you
case.
do criminal
He is
case.
going to be arrested,
Yep.
just like he has been in every other
Mm-hmm.
indictment that was criminal. He was
Mm-hmm.
arrested in the background, then brought into court, read out the crimes, made his plea, and left.
All right, I'm gonna check that out, Anna. Everybody's saying it is live and they want to see it, so I guess I'm gonna make some plans.
Well,
I'm
looks like
gonna
we're going to
figure
be here
out,
on next Friday, the
yeah,
25th.
on the 25th, we will do it. Yes, we will definitely do it. Okay, so that'll be Eastern Standard Time. Courts open at 9, right?
Yeah, I'm not sure
Georgia,
when
is
well,
Georgia Eastern
have they
or is
said,
that
yeah,
Central?
Georgia's
I don't know.
Eastern.
Yeah. He must attend
Let's see
every
if
minute.
they've
Yes, he can, because in criminal trials, the judge can actually mandate that they be brought. They can actually haul his
no,
ass
they
in.
must be.
Yeah.
It's a criminal trial. He has to be there.
It is, because I remember during Letitia Storch and the Lori Vallow, neither one of them wanted to attend. Okay, when they were talking about their crimes, they wanted to be
Sure.
dismissed, and the
They
judges
wanted to
wouldn't
be
allow it.
dismissed, and then
Hmm.
they could say they never had a chance to
Oh, right. It
to
doesn't
to
happen.
see their accuser. So
Hmm.
this is
Nope.
why in a criminal case you have to be there. As the defendant, you have to be there.
Hmm. I agree, Robski. Ferrets are really cool. They are. My heart belongs to otters, though. I would have to say they're a bit cooler, but ferrets are pretty awesome. That's a good way to relax. We should watch some videos, quiz. What do you think? When we're done here, we should just go watch some otters playing in the water or something, or some ferrets, playing basketball. I think that's the
Now,
last one.
we need to make this clear.
Mm,
He may not go on the 25th. He may go beforehand.
he could.
So
Yes.
if we
Yeah.
suddenly go live,
Yeah.
understand that he
Mhm.
has decided to do it early. So just be tuned anytime. I
Yeah.
don't think he'll go this week.
I hope it's not that like the judge a week ago who told me 9 o'clock and then went live at 8. And thank you, Quiz, for waking me up. And thank you for those of you in the chat. You know who you are, who woke me up too, sending me links, and my phone was going off like crazy. Like, whoa, he went early on you. But yeah, he did. He started speaking on the jury, like on the sentencing regulations and stuff like that. But at least we didn't miss the witness statements or anything like that. Like, I have to keep my eyes open for this. Well, usually because it's so big, everybody will be talking about it, right? Like every media place will
Oh,
be
I'm
talking
sure
about it.
they've already got people surrounding him. And the first sniff they get of him going to Georgia, you're going to be, you're going to
Hmm.
be told right away that Trump's heading towards Georgia. He may be going to turn himself in, so everybody will be on standby.
I would
So
actually bet that his lawyers are already working on getting it moved to a later date. The longer that they can delay this, the better. That they are actually going to try to move the 25th
it,
to
it,
sometime in
it's
September.
not going to happen.
I don't think this judge is going to
The
allow
judge
it.
has already
Yeah.
said you have until the 25th. Period.
hmm
I've given you 10 days to get your ass
Yeah, but
here.
their statements do not prevent them from filing motions. You know that. Like
No, it's
we'll
true.
see what happens.
They can,
Well,
and
she can just disregard it, deny it, just like
she can
that.
deny him.
Yeah.
And trust me, judge doesn't like to be kept waiting. So, as a
No,
matter of
and they
fact, I'm
don't.
shocked that this judge didn't just say flat out, "You will be here at this time on this date." And that way, the Secret Service can get set up, the Sheriff's Department can get set up, the federal
hmm
office workers can be set up, and I would imagine it's going to be close to being a national holiday
hmm
down by the federal courthouse or down by the courthouse
Yeah.
um, there, because I doubt they're going to want anybody else in session that day.
Yeah. Well, oh wow. We they're not going to want to, but I wonder how much they actually are going to know, because like I received an email last night and I wanted to bring this up. I don't know how many others did, but when Trump first went over to Parlor, I signed up over there to see what was going on. And last night I actually got a campaign message from Donald J. Trump, slamming the whole process, the indictment, talking about everybody and asking for money against actually the third indictment, that judge's instruction not to be talking about this anymore. Um, and it's actually in his campaign promises now, like in his pledges for money and stuff like that. And I'm wondering, is that going to come up in these hearings? When they turn themselves in, that he's already using it that way. Um, where are his rights? Where does his rights end and the actual sanctity of the actual process begin? you know he says he's allowed to campaign any way he wants, that it's his right. Yes, it is, but you don't get to commit a crime and you don't get to go against the judge's order. I mean, there are consequences for that. Nobody said you can't campaign. Can you campaign like, normally, not like a thug, you know not like a criminal? That would be nice. um I have not got the name of the Georgia judge yet, Anna. I don't have that on file yet. Well, I think Quiz and I were thinking about Chutkin when we said she, because she's
Yeah.
like prominently in our minds right now. She's quite the strong presence, actually. I admire her. So when we said she, that was what I was thinking. But we know that that is not the judge for Georgia.
Okay.
Yeah.
Superior Court Judge Scott McAfee
Okay, it's a he. Sorry, I
was
misgendered
assigned to
your
preside over
judge.
the Blockbuster case announced late Monday. So Scott
There
McAfee
you
is the
go.
guy.
Scott McAvee, there's your name. Is that MCVEY or
McAfee, like
Fee, FEY? Okay.
McAfee. Scott
All right.
McAfee, like
Fee.
the
Fee.
virus people.
Okay. All right,
He's
cool.
probably rich because he kills viruses all the time.
Oh yeah, dude. Why don't you give Trump more to tweet about, like, Quiz? Come on. Now there's gonna be another tweet. Quiz said I heard it. But evidenced by what Quiz said, McAfee, who made money on the virus, is now going to be prejudicial against me because I was a virus denier and drank bleach or whatever he did. Like, that man was crazy when it came to that stuff. Like, the fact that we didn't get to put charges on him for what he did to the American people in virus denying is like really something right there. Well, yeah.
Oh, they're already starting in on him.
Thank you, Anna. You.
He's only been on the bench for 6 months, and wow, they're gonna yell at him about that.
What? He's only been there 6 months? Oh my God, he's pooping his pants right now, Quiz.
This is probably a good time to get people to understand that in criminal cases and civil, you don't get to shop for your judge. When you bring a case, it's put into the docket, and
Mhm.
then a judge is randomly picked out of the justices that are available. It's not, well, I get it because I want, more prestige. It's random. And so this guy got the pick of the lifetime.
He did. Or the short straw, depending on how you look at it. He's only
Yeah.
been there 6 months, and this is going to be a high profile.
I mean,
This
and
will make or break
already
his career, actually, right
already
there.
some of
Mhm.
the media is saying he's only been there for 6 months, and yet now he's in charge of one of the biggest cases in America.
Exactly.
How fair is that? It's like, well, he's a
Well,
judge. Who
obviously, they
cares?
don't understand the judicial system. You see, that's what I like about our show quiz. We at least give the civics lessons in the judicial process the way it actually is. And I can't believe that the people around President Trump, like President Trump, does not understand how our country works. He doesn't understand civics. He doesn't understand the process of judicial at all. For them to actually say that, like that guy actually, like they picked him because just because that's who they wanted, and they don't understand the process. That just shows you, like what they're actually putting out there. They don't care. They just lie, lie, lie. They just do. But yep.
Yeah,
Oh
I
my
mean,
gosh.
let's see. He graduated from Emory
Oh my. Okay, wait a minute.
with a
Wait a
degree,
minute.
an
I'm gonna.
undergraduate degree in music,
He has an undergraduate degree in music.
where he
Okay,
received a scholarship to play the cello.
okay. You put
Okay.
his name in the chat, and I'm going to show them who we're talking about because you just sent it to me.
The reason I put that picture there was he doesn't look 34.
No,
Sorry.
no, he does not.
He
And
received Juris Doctorate from the University of Georgia School of Law.
okay,
Grew up in Kennesaw, married,
all
2
right,
children,
all right.
was a
Type his.
prosecutor before
Yeah.
this. He's a scuba diver, and he's the captain of his tennis team.
There is our judge for the case. Okay, could you type that out for me, the name, so I get it spelled right? Also, Anna's going to be doing some research too, just so they know. Well,
Scott.
that
Oh,
is
sorry.
okay. So, hello, Judge. Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you. There you go. I wonder if he'll keep the case or they'll find a reason to get him off, but we'll see. Like you said, they're already speculating, and so the rumor mill goes.
Oh, I know. I mean, I just, but this is, yeah, I mean, this is not one of those things you get to choose your judge. Just because a big case comes up doesn't mean, the lead judge gets everything. It's not how that works, and it's never been how it works. When there are multiple justices to choose from, it's done randomly, just so you can say he wasn't picked, the defense picked him or the prosecution picked him. No, this is random. So, I mean,
Mhm.
otherwise we wouldn't have that judge in Florida that keeps getting slapped down by the appeals court. Um, and as much as I don't like her being the judge over the Florida case, still, she's the judge that got picked. It's just how it is.
Mm. They aren't happy about that, but she's fair. Like I was, I don't know how they can go against her. Actually, she's definitely fair, that one. Um, why they even bother, like not knowing the process and then just trying to pick on who gets what?
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
it's because they don't care. They'll find anything about a certain judge's background
Hmm.
and use it against them if they think it'll make, people forget about the crap that Trump has
Hmm.
pulled.
Yeah.
All of this, everything that they do when they talk about judges and witnesses and prosecutors
Hmm.
is to deflect, get the attention off Trump. They don't want people thinking about Trump.
Right.
I mean,
They
that's the problem. If they actually sat down and thought, okay, not all of them, but I'm sure a good number of them, if they sat down and read the indictment, read what the evidence was, might kind of go, well, maybe this wasn't such a good idea. But there are also those, and if you don't follow some of the
Mhm.
people who do these um, interviews at the MAGA rallies, and you don't know what I'm talking
Mhm.
about, but there's one, and I'm not gonna, I can't remember, Walter something. Maybe you'll remember it just by that name. Um,
Walter Noto, like the guy that's been indicted with him in the documents case? Is that?
no,
No.
no, no.
Um,
He's a YouTuber.
oh.
Um, he's a
Mm.
comedian, but he goes to the MAGA rallies and does interviews.
Oh, I know who you're talking about. He talks to them
And
outside, and they don't
yeah,
even.
he
Yeah,
was talking to
yeah.
this one person, and
Hmm.
he's like, should Trump be thrown in jail? She's like, no. Well, what do you think somebody should be thrown in jail for? And it's like, well, if he lies or if he commits this kind of crime and that kind of crime. And then he looked at her and he goes, you mean so what Trump has been indicted on? And it just hit her, like, oh. And she smiled and she goes, well, it doesn't matter because it's Trump.
Mm.
I was like, wow, you shouldn't say those things out loud. But that's a number of these people. That is exactly how they believe. It doesn't matter because it's Trump.
Oh my God! Like because he's got different set of rules. Like this is what I'm talking about. This
Yeah.
is the absolute entitlement, and it reeks of it. Like where is the fairness in all of that? Like it's so infuriating. It is so infuriating. Well, well, I think we covered it, Quiz. Look at that, and we didn't have to read 143 incidences or the 41 charges because, like,
I really think we
I
should,
really
though.
want,
I think we
I
should. We should
we
read the
should.
whole 98 pages.
No, I think everybody should, but I
I
don't want to read
agree.
it to them. I mean, because I wouldn't be able to keep the snarky glee out of my voice. Like I thought about recording it for the library, but no, like that's not fair. I want to be a little bit a little bit fair about the whole thing, and I want everybody to make up their own mind. But I am telling you, it's lit, and it's a very well documented case. Now, whether or
Yeah.
not he's going to be convicted of any of this is up to the court
Again,
system.
this is indictment. He's
It's
not
indictment,
convicted of anything yet. So
exactly. Well, we've
it's
seen this
it's gonna be a
happening.
ride. It's gonna
Yeah,
be a ride.
it's going to be a rough one for sure. Like we're in it. We're in it. So
We'll see you. We'll probably be back on sometime next week,
oh yeah, we
I
will.
would
We can't
imagine.
be done with this because, like, you know, here's the other thing. There's the question floating around since Georgia went through with their indictment about their process. In Jack Smith's indictment, he did mention quite a few other states that had problems with him, like Pennsylvania and a few others, during this process. I wonder if they're going to go forward with their own charges. That
Yeah.
would be
I mean,
interesting to find out.
um,
Mhm.
Michigan, I doubt will do anything against him.
She'll wants
Uh,
to have a live chat party just for the heck of it. Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, we could. We could.
Pennsylvania, not so sure. Arizona, no, because it's a Republican controlled state,
Mhm.
and I doubt that the attorney general will
We'll go
press
forward.
charges.
Yeah,
So
it's
a
just.
lot of these, remember, a lot of these happened in red states. A lot of this shit was pulled in
Mhm.
red states, and again, that's just part of the plan. What normally was a red state went blue, and therefore he could get away with it because they were still electing Republican officials statewide.
Yep.
And Trump knew that those officials would not turn on him, except he kind of overextended that down in Georgia
Mhm.
and didn't leave any of the people in Georgia a way out. When he gets on the phone with them, says, I need 11,780 votes. We got to turn this election around.
Mhm.
You know, if you haven't heard that phone call, you need to listen to it.
Mhm.
All the phone call. And
Right.
you'll understand why I sat there the day I heard it, which was the day after it happened, because it was released by Rafflesberger.
Mhm.
And you could tell just how uncomfortable the man was.
Exactly. He
I
was
need
absolutely.
11,780 votes. And he's like,
It's just like, yeah. Well, what do you want me
uh,
to do about it? That's illegal,
and
dude.
that's when
Like what?
Rafflesberger's attorney got on the line and said, we've already conducted an investigation and there was no
Mhm.
fraud in this election, so we can't
Exactly. Like we
do
went
that.
in Michigan did the same thing. Like I'm hoping. You know what? But then again, like what purpose would it be? Like if it's already being addressed and he's going to be charged, like they also have to think of their budgets and the headache and all of that for it. Like um do the audio for what? Oh, that podcast? If I get it, I'll link it. If anybody knows who does that podcast prosecuting Donald Trump, well, let me just do a quick search. so I could put it in there. Sorry you hear the typing. Oh.
That's okay. I'll sing instead.
Yeah, you go ahead and sing while I type. Yeah, I
I
like
think
that.
I
We
think
work.
we'd be charged with a crime at that point.
Okay. It's on RadioNet. It's on RadioNet. It's on Apple. It's on Pay Podcast. It's on. Okay, hold on. All right, here's a free link that I found. I'm not sure how good it is, but here is a free link. And thank you, Liam. What's that one you just put in there? This. Oh, Liam's got one too. Okay. Liam's is the full audio. Oh, that's the okay. That one is a YouTube video. So that's good too. So now you have two of them there. Oh, that's the third indictment. Okay. Well, I hope they do the fourth indictment. So watch that channel, people, that YouTube channel that Liam just put in. Maybe they'll do a YouTube video for you. But the link I put down is the podcast of the fourth one. That was mentioned by Katie in the chat. So there you go. Interesting. Interesting. What do you think, Quiz? Do you think we finished? What do you think?
I think we're done.
I think we're
At
done,
least
people. Thank
for
yeah,
today.
for today. And we
And
will be back.
I think we should apologize for whenever the next stream is if it
Yeah.
comes off quick.
Well, we don't have to apologize. They know I'm gonna just pull it out. They wanted
mean-
it, and if we can, we'll be here. Hopefully, I'm not sleeping, and if I am sleeping, somebody wakes me up. But we'll do it. What I'm gonna do is just make a stream up and leave it in the background so that we're
Yeah.
ready to go. So there won't be much of an announcement unless it's on the 25th. That one I will schedule like so that you see it regularly.
Right.
Well, I will make an emergency one just in case, so I don't get caught with my pants down like with the last one. That was rough. Like that was really crazy. But I just want to say thank you all. The conversation has been great. The participation of the chat has been enlightening, and I loved all the questions. I like that you guys are actively participating in this. That's why we do it, to have those conversations. So I'm really thrilled about that. I appreciate all of you that actively participate and make the conversations even better. And keep it going. Like, share, comment. Hit the back of those videos for me, people. It is working, and you'll see us both again. Thank you, Quiz. This was this was a little different than I thought. Like, I'm leaving this stream and I'm not angry, and that's the first time that I've done a stream about Trump that I'm not all like tight and aggressive when I got offline. I'm in a
Yeah.
good mood. Yeah. Yeah.
This is a decent indictment. Like I said, once you read through it, I'm sure everybody's going to go, well, can you really charge him for this? And there's going to be a judge who says the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
And don't worry about it when you hear that count 4 and 22 and 57 and whatever were dismissed, because the judge is going to look at it and go, no, you can't do it on November 4th. That's way too soon.
Right?
I think that's the
Exactly.
first one to go. But after that, I mean,
Mhm.
he's got 141 to choose from.
Mm.
And 2 are already
Yeah.
proven. I don't understand why we're even having the indictment.
Exactly. I have to tell you. Sean said, thank you, Claire and Inquisitor, and everyone in your invite. So thank all. That's so great. We do appreciate the way you guys actually contribute to this and the information that you send, and that you're not like we had a little bit of fun up here, but I actually do want to see the justice system play out the way it
Yes.
should. I want to see a good defense. I think they should throw everything they can to try to defend him,
Wait.
because that way it
Did you
won't
say
get
a
appealed.
good defense?
Well, based on the lawyers that he has, you try, because I don't want him to like get off on the fact that he wasn't
I don't think the
represented
lawyers that he has
properly.
know how to put up a defense.
I don't know, but I do want to see the
'Cause, he
system
has
work the way
immunity.
it should. No, he doesn't. Like, Alina needs to get a clue. I think Alina needs to remind her that there is a Supreme Court, and they've already like had an opinion about this. Like, maybe she should go look. For a lawyer, I can't. Anyway, whatever. Just Alina. Yeah, she's comic relief at this point. It's frustrating. It is frustrating. There are 30 unindicted parties. Yes, there are, Katie, 1 through 30, and they're all giving testimony. They're the ones who said, "Oh, wait, you're serious? You got that on me? Oh, let me give you some information." Like, yeah. Well, they already made their plea deals, probably. So yeah, there's a lot of people involved in this one. So it's not that hard to see a conspiracy going on. And it's funny that's part of the defense, right? Quiz already. He's out there screaming, "They just don't
Already.
like me." That's his defense. They don't like me. They don't
And
want
it's
me to be president.
unprecedented. I'm
Yeah.
telling you, it is unprecedented
That doesn't
that
mean it
a
shouldn't be
former
addressed. Okay,
president
here's the
has been
okay.
indicted.
You know what was also unprecedented? The first murder, the first crime against anyone. They were all unprecedented at one time. It doesn't mean we didn't have to make laws and rules and actually hold people to task for it.
You know what's
Like, so shut up.
amazing
Mhm.
is we will
Yeah.
never hear this again. It's unprecedented that
Yeah.
a former president is indicted.
No, now we can
Up.
indict them all. You better fly right, people. We'll indict your ass. There you go. It's been done. Okay. We're not afraid of it anymore. There we go. Somebody ripped the band-aid off. Okay. And he's indicted finally. And no one's above the law. I keep saying it. And everybody thinks I'm like just so anti-Trump, but it's not that. I'm anti the entitlement. I'm anti the arrogance. I'm anti the stance that they are above the law. Yes, that I
Katie,
am. Yep. Mhm.
how many
Yeah.
unknown parties did they refer to? Um, they didn't refer to unknown parties. They referred to unindicted
Unindicted
co-conspirators,
parties.
and there were
Unindicted
31 of them.
conspirators. Yep. 1 through 30. When you count them, that makes 31. That is it. They call them unindicted conspirators. In other words, part of the conspiracy, but how not putting their name forward. They either have a deal, or they've given testimony, or they're still working on
And
what
Lindsey
charges they're
Graham's
going to
name's
put
on
on them.
that list.
Oh, yes, it is. Did you see him sweating? Did you see him? I saw him sweating. Did you see him sweating? I saw him sweating. If I was Lindsay, I'd be sweating and I would just zip it up. Like, I would stop taking those calls from the president right now, Lindsay, if I were you. But anyway, just a piece of
Well,
advice.
okay, Katie, those parties, when they talk about unknown to the grand jury, they're talking about people who they haven't yet. How do I say this a nice
Formally
way?
charged. Just say
No,
it.
no, it's not formally charged or is going to be charged. They're talking about witnesses they don't want yet to release the names of.
Because of testimony
Yeah,
and
because the
information.
testimony
Yeah.
they give is highly inflammable, highly, it's going to prove their case,
Mhm.
and they don't want those people to get hassled
Right.
before they're, before
Mhm.
the judge says it's okay to release the
Because if
witness
they get
list.
formally charged and indicted, that's all public knowledge, and
Yeah.
it'll be out there, and they could be tampered with as witnesses and all. And possibly the information that they're giving is a reason for them not to be unindicted because they're cooperating. So, it has to go forward that way.
I'm sure, because I'm sure President or Vice President Pence was not
Oh, I'm
included on
sure he's
that
on that
list.
list. No,
He's
I
not
don't
an
think so
unindicted
because he.
co-conspirator. I can
No,
promise
he's
you
not.
he's not an unindicted co-conspirator. He could very well be one of the unknown to the grand jury
He.
because they
Yep.
didn't want to put his name on the witness list yet because they know
Mm.
minute that witness list is released, people are
Well,
going to
there
start screaming about them.
in regards to all of the election stuff, the January 6th from Jack Smith and for this indictment, there's no way that Pence is not going to be um either
I'm
asked for
just
an
I'm just
affidavit
telling
or
you
asked for
that
testimony. Yeah.
these are some of the people that, the big names are not going to get listed quickly just for this reason. They don't want them to suffer from the
Mm,
immediate backlash that's going to be heard.
this is true. Yeah.
And really, I wouldn't be worried about the little people or the big people. I'd be more worried
Hmm.
about the little people who have
That's
things
right.
to say and evidence to
And
give because they're
right,
the
because
ones
yeah,
who are
look what
going
they
to get
did.
most of this crap.
Yeah, look what they did to Ruby Friedman. They practically ruined her and her mother's life.
Oh,
They
they
couldn't
did ruin her.
they couldn't even go out and get a cup of coffee without all these people like throwing stuff at them, calling them names,
Yeah.
because people believed that they really did what everybody said, that they actually tried to throw and mess with the election, that they did something illegal while trying to be like good citizens, and
Yep.
they actually defamed them and actually caused them great harm. People didn't want them to work with them or be associated with them.
Well,
People
Ruby
were
lost
afraid
her
to be seen
job.
with them. Yeah, this is what I'm saying. Like their lives were damaged over this. Like and they're civilly, by the way, they have a civil lawsuit against Rudy Giuliani. And he has actually had to come forward and say what he said was not true. And that's going to be used in this lawsuit.
Eh,
This criminal charges. It's actually
no.
on record in a court of law that he lied. Okay? That he lied. Therefore, it's public record now in a court of law, and it's evidence.
Yeah.
Yep, a
So,
lawyer.
yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things that are going to happen in the next 2 weeks. So it's going to be interesting again.
It's all so convoluted and connected, all of them, all those indictments. That's why we went through all those cases. I'm going to add another one to the link below that was done by PBS that just gives you a short synopsis of the 4 criminal cases and 2 of the civil cases, just so that you know. I think we did that like last week too. But it's important to stay on top of all this. It's it's not like the whole country is conspiring against him. It could it just be the other side of the coin that he's just that awful and he's finally caught? I mean, could it be?
Well,
Mm,
I mean,
yeah.
I think his luck has run out. I really do. And
I do. You can't be Donald Trump and not I mean,
yeah.
you can't step in shit forever and come out smelling like a rose.
And as soon as he
Eventually.
realizes that his luck's run out, my prediction will be that the civil case will be suddenly not dropped but settled, and all 3 of the other cases will be put on hold.
Mhm.
As soon as Trump says, "Okay, I'm not running for president anymore," they're either going to slap him on the wrist or they're just not going to follow through and hold it over him until
I
he's
hope not.
dead.
You know why I hope not? Because that would kind of lend credence that they did this just to prevent him from running. And I want to believe they did this for justice. So no, I want a
I would
penalty.
love to believe that they did it for justice.
I
But if they
want
would
a
have done it for
penalty.
justice, it should have been done 2 years ago.
He messed with the election system, and I think that that's a federal offense, and it's got
I
mandatory
agree.
sentencing,
But
and
I
he
don't think it
should
takes
serve
2
it.
years to decide that a phone call saying, "I need 11,780 votes," needs to
I
take 2
do
years.
when you're
It doesn't
talking
need to
about
take 2 years to
it,
say,
that's where we
that's
have a
interference
difference
with an
of
election."
opinion, because I know how slow the law works, and I also believe that because he was president, that they had to dot all the I's across the T, and it was a hard road to get to where they are. Okay,
Okay.
it wasn't like they just woke up today and decided he's getting too close to getting votes. We just have to keep him from going in. I think this process started when it happened, and I think that they've been working on it the whole time, because I know it takes that long. Now, if we were talking about the financial case, that Braggs did, I'd say that's bullshit. I'd say Alvin Braggs just did that. He could have done that a year, 2 years ago. That's all the way back from 2016. That's bullshit. He didn't bring it forward because the man was president at the time and he knew it was
But
going
you
to be
can't bring it
difficult.
forward. That's the problem.
Right. Okay. But now this is it. He was actively running for, they needed time. I don't think they just thought of this within the last couple of months and just decided to do it. I think they were actively working on it the whole 2 years. I think that when we see the evidence, we will see that. Okay, when we
I
get
think
into the
Fannie
investigation.
Willis wanted to go with Rico from the beginning and had to
I
build this
do.
case up.
Exactly. So that's why it
I
takes a
think
long time.
also that a
Mhm.
federal charge could easily be made 2 years ago that it was election interference to call Brad Raffensperger and say, "I need 11,780 votes."
Mhm.
And then
Based
say, just say, there are problems with the election and the Republicans and I will take care of it. Right then and there, they could have brought him up on charges. As soon as he
Yep.
left office, they could have just
They-
said, "Nope, you're up on charges for what you already said. Just shut up." And
They could have, But look at the political climate at the time, and look what they
Oh,
did with the
wait,
January
wait.
6th
I thought
hearings
you were
and
out
how
for
they shut
justice.
everything down. I am
I
out for
thought you were out
justice.
for justice.
I am
What
out for
difference, therefore,
justice.
does it make if your political
They
climate is
would have
one
got
thing
it
or
shut
another?
down
It
because
doesn't
they would have
matter.
got it shut down. That's what I'm saying. They needed a stronger case
So they were
because they would have
afraid.
got it strong. Yeah, well, they wanted to make sure they had a rock solid case. That I'll say. I wouldn't say they were
You're
afraid.
saying that they were afraid that the rioters would have returned and started rioting again.
No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying it would have got shot down and it would have been harder to reopen.
Who would have
And
shot
I'm
it down?
thinking
It's an open and closed case on what he said.
it's true, but they also said it during the January 6th hearing. They brought all this evidence out and nobody did squat about it.
Well, the okay. Did I say that at the January 6th? I said as soon as he left office,
I know, but
they
what I'm
should
saying,
have
do you see? Yeah, they
immediately
should have.
said,
I agree.
you're under arrest for this because that is election interference.
They
That
should.
alone. And
They
that
could
is a
have.
felony.
They could have, and then still built their case for the 2 years. You're right. But I'm saying, like, they didn't just decide to do this now because he's running. This has been
I
going
know
on from the beginning.
why it took Fannie Willis 2 years to do it. She was
Yeah,
building a RICO case. I get
she
that.
was. Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that a
But
federal
would you admit
prosecutor
that
couldn't
would
have
you
already charged him with
a federal one
election.
could have outside of Georgia, absolutely a
That's what I'm
federal
saying.
prosecutor. I agree with you there, but they wouldn't. Okay, they like I said, because federally, that's where you get all the politics and the pressure is more than statewide. We have to agree on that, right?
No, I
Federally,
don't agree on that.
there is, especially when Trump is out there saying
are
the
we not
DOJ
having
is
justice for
biased.
all in all areas of the justice? I mean,
That's the way
just
it's
because it's a
supposed to
federal
be.
charge doesn't
That's the way
mean
it's
that,
supposed to be. But
well,
look what's been going on. They actually, when we actually even get a special prosecutor that they begged for, and we put them in place to do an independent review of everything, they still come out and claim bias and smell and stink. That there's been pressure and everything. Like they really do try to taint it. They
of
really have
course they
gone
do, but they've been
all
doing
out.
that from the beginning.
Yeah.
They did that before he was charged with anything.
Yeah, but I do agree that federally he could have come up on charges a lot sooner. But even looking at the federal charges and indictments that they have now, they are softball compared to what Fannie Willis
I
just did
agree.
with Rico. And she wants to win, okay? Because
Except one thing is Jack Smith has him up on insurrection. So
he
just saying.
does. You just forgot that other
That's
word.
something that Fannie Willis can't give us.
I wish he would have put sedition in there, but he didn't. Like he just put
Well,
insurrection.
it's all right. Insurrection gets him out. So
Yeah, and he still can't run. Okay, so
yep.
there you go. All I want is I don't want a criminal as a president. That's all I want to say. Like,
I'm not of the opinion that Trump is going to win the 2024 nomination. I'm of the opinion that
he's
Trump will run.
he already in court. He's been proven to be a defamer and a sexual abuser.
Okay,
And
that
they don't
doesn't
give a shit.
matter.
No, they don't care.
I
They
don't
don't care.
care about that. I think what's going to happen though is that they won't nominate him for the Republican Party, but he will still run, which is a good thing. I think that's a great thing.
It is. I have to agree. I just want someone with a little more integrity and morals.
Good luck.
Yeah, I know, Carrie Ann. I'm not so sure most presidents weren't criminal in some way. Okay, like I'd have to go with that. Like we do have some. I don't think some of them in my lifetime were. I actually have great respect to a few, especially the last couple of sitting ones. I would say that some of the stuff our government does on a whole is a little bit dicey. Yeah, I would agree. But I think they do it for somewhat the right reasons, in some ways. But revolutionary tendencies. Yup, Robski, that's how us Americans roll. It's like, yes, that's basically how it goes. But anyway,
All right. Well,
we are
everyone,
done
thanks
now.
for
Now
being
we're
here.
really done. And we'll be back. And thanks, Quiz. This was hella great
No
conversation.
problem. I'm
And I'm
always
always
happy to
glad
be here.
you're my favorite person to talk politics about because you really do. And I love the civics lessons and the judicial process lessons. We have to keep doing that for people. And so many people just don't understand. They just don't get it. Well, yeah. Anyway, read the indictment, people, and we'll see you soon. Right.
Good night, everybody.
Good night. Have a great afternoon.
The only thing we have to fear is fear itself.
Justice requires us to remember when any citizen denies his fellow, saying his color is not mine, or his beliefs are strange and different. In that moment, he betrays America.
Be nice, patient, and continue to pray. In 100 or 200 years, the problem will work itself out.
I believe that truth is the glue that holds government together. Not only our government, but civilization itself.
In this present crisis, government is not the solution to our problem. Government is the problem.
This nation was founded by men of many nations and backgrounds. It was founded on the principle that all men are created equal, and that the rights of every man are diminished, and the rights of one man are threatened.
America is never wholly herself unless she is engaged in high moral principle. We as a people have such a purpose today. It is to make kinder the face of the nation and gentler the face of the world.
There is nothing wrong with America that cannot be cured by what is right with America.
Through much of the last century, America's faith in freedom and democracy was a rock in a raging sea.
Starting today, we must pick ourselves up, dust ourselves off, and begin again the work of remaking America.